Hey, everybody. My name is Ross Wade, and I'm one of the career advisors in the School of Communications. And this is a presentation on e-portfolios or electronic portfolios. Now, one thing that I don't want you to do is get too in the weeds about it or too overwhelmed about it. Because portfolios are really just a collection of your best work. Not all of the work that you've done, but just your best work. So, say that if you're a graphic designer and over the past 2 years have done 80 different pieces, but you only really like 10 of them, those 10 are the pieces that you'll highlight on your portfolio. It's a digital record of projects and experiences. And they're really, especially for certain types of industries like graphic design and journalism, can be such a competitive edge as you're pursuing internships and jobs. So, this is something that you can think about even before an internship, but they'll certainly help you find a job afterwards. And again, for a lot of industries, it's really an expectation of employers. When you apply for a job, they'll ask for a resume and a cover letter and a link to your portfolio. So they're very important. Now, I want to clarify there are two different types of portfolios. The first one up here, the showcase or the professional, is what we're talking about today. So these primarily serve to demonstrate or showcase the highlights of a student or an applicant's skills and abilities. So, what can you do, how well you do it, and then show me examples of that. So, that's a professional e portfolio. Now, a second one are those that are learning portfolios. And so you might have had to do some of these for certain classes. And they're created as a part of a course, as a way to demonstrate learning and the learning process. So they're more process oriented. So you might upload a paper and your professor marks it up and tells you what could be improved, and then your classmates comment on it. So it's focused on the process of learning, whereas the professional portfolio is focused on the final product. And the final product is what employers are most interested in. So again, we're going to focus today on the professional portfolio. Now, before you dive in, and this is why I said this when we started, not to get overwhelmed, but think about how you want to lay your e-portfolio out. And you'll see this graphic on the left, and it's for a pretty basic strategic communications or any type of comm major portfolio website. So we have our home, so that's where the URL takes you. And then it's broken up into several basic sections. So we have a contact page where, well, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but it's got your basic contact information, including social media. There's an About Me page, which typically has a little bit about your experience at Elon and internships. Typically, there's also going to be a link to your resume. And then other sections, depending on your major and what you want to do, might be production, where you put short videos that you've edited or podcasts or something like that. Writing could be research or press releases. And then design, of course, could be graphic design, web design, product design, etc. But it's really important that you plan your website out ahead of time. That's going to save you a lot of frustration and time, especially when you decide what platform you would like to use to create your portfolio. Now, keep in mind, a portfolio is not a blog. So it's not just a very linear, this is what I posted yesterday, and below that's what I posted the day before. It's an actual website with pages. So don't be confused about that. In the next slide, we'll talk about different platforms where you can create your own portfolio website. And then the final thing is know yourself and know your audience. So really think about, this is what I'm best at. This is the work where I have the best examples. And so this is what I want to show employers. And that's going to dictate how I put my website together or the sections I decide to highlight on my website. And then know your audience, because they're the one, that's who's going to hire you. So you have to realize what they want and really give that to them and give them all the information that they need when they're looking at your portfolio. So now that we've laid out what our portfolio is going to look like, we need to pick a platform, and there's lots of them. And a lot of them are free. So WordPress is one, and I know that's a blog, and I said don't use a blog, but WordPress can be customized so it works like a website. And so that's why I've got this on there. It's very customizable, it's very intuitive. So WordPress could definitely be an option for you. I find the most popular ones are Weebly and Wix. And those I call drop and drag. So you can create a free account or pay for your own domain. And basically, there are templates, and you can take those templates and customize it so it meets your own needs that you need for your portfolio. So you can make your own pages, drop in content, including videos, JPEGs, copy, etc. And then, of course, there's a bazillion other ones as well. So Squarespace is another drop and drag one, which people use a lot. Um, Adobe has one, Google Sites, and then, of course, coding your own site. Now, if you don't do code well or do not like doing code, do not code your own site, please. When you're thinking about your portfolio, the focus is going to be on your work, on your content. So if you create something from scratch that looks kind of janky, then that's going to take away from the user's experience. So instead of looking at your work, they're going to be looking at why did this person do this and this and this on their site? Focus on your work. Unless you create websites and that's what you want to do, definitely make your own. But when you're thinking about your portfolio, think about I want everyone to focus on my content. So what's the cleanest, most intuitive way that I can make this? Can I make it myself? Probably not. So it might be best to use one of these platforms like Weebly, Wix, etc. Now, here's a few other things to think about. So, number one, and I say this and I laugh every year, but choose a professional URL. And I say that because sometimes people don't do that, and that can affect whether people view them professionally or not. One other thing that, and this is a really, really important one, is that when you're sorting your work, you don't want to sort your work by where you did it. So, for example, if I go back here, we'll see that over here we've got design, writing, and production. So I can go directly to those sections and know, okay, when I click on here, I'm going to see a bunch of design work. Now, if these were listed as internship sites, so if this said Ketchum and this said Ogilvy and this said Bolt PR, and inside each of those, it gave me press releases and strategies and social content, then as a person that's using this, it's going to be very difficult for me to find what I want. So like in this example, we want to sort by skill. So design, writing, production, etc. And that's really, really important. As a part of this, and I talked about this earlier, we want to create an About Me section. So here's who I am, here's my background, here's my goals. Pretty simple. We don't want to have any personal information, so don't put your mailing address on there. I wouldn't even feel comfortable putting my cell phone number on there, just because I don't want any person on the web to contact me, especially know where I live, because there's some creepy folks out there, so we want to keep you safe. Now, if you upload your resume to your portfolio, that's something that you'll have to keep in mind as well. Remove that from your resume. I see a lot of students not put that on their portfolio, but then it's still easily accessible on their resume. I talked about this a little bit earlier. It should be intuitive and easy to navigate. So this is why I think it's best to sort your stuff by skill. I want it clean. I want to know exactly where I need to go. I don't want to be overwhelmed by some crazy design or something flashing at me. I need to be able to see your work, and not only see your work, but understand what exactly you did. You have to add that context as well. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. And finally, like I just said, make it clean and professional. Now, when you're choosing your work, and I was just talking about this, say that if you did some web design and you've got this really great piece that you want to highlight, instead of just plopping that in the design section on your ePortfolio, give us some context underneath. Tell us about the process. Here's what the client wanted. Here was my process for designing this. and this is the technology that I use. So they know exactly what you did and the process that you took. Say that if you want to do production and you have a production section and there's a video on there and that's it. I don't know if you were the editor or the producer or the writer. Tell us your role, tell us what you did, and then tell us the technology that you used. So adding information, adding this copy for each of the samples is really important. And this is something that I see a lot of students don't do. And it makes it less intuitive for the employer, which we've just learned is very important, that it is intuitive and easy. So pick a variety of stuff in your best work. So don't just pick stuff from one client over and over and over again. Try to think of different clients, different class projects, even things that you've done for service or through maybe some student organizations. If it's relevant to your industry, you can absolutely use it. So there's a big pool of places where you can get content for your site. It's not just internships. Don't overload your portfolio. Don't have 500 different things that I need to find. Again, we're looking for your best work, not all of your work. And then finally, keep it updated. I know that for your COM internship, you're going to have to create one. And I see a lot of students do their internship after their sophomore year. They do it for credit, they create one, and then 2 years later, they come back to me and they say, oh, well, I created this 2 years ago, but it's not updated and I don't like it. So they have to redesign the whole thing, which can take a lot of time. So consider updating it every semester. Now, I talked about sections, and these are pretty granular, so it's going to depend on exactly what you want to do. These are sections that you might pick as you're getting closer to graduation and you know that you want to be a journalist or you know that you want to be a web designer. And so you can be very specific in your sections. But for right now, and I'm going to keep going back to this example, it might be good just to keep them a little bit basic. So design, writing, video, film, etc. And these are different types of examples that can be put in there. So everything from research reports to breaking news stories to press releases to campaign analytics, storyboards, content that you've done for social media. All of this is stuff that can go within each section on your ePortfolio. Now, I do want to take a couple of minutes to talk about Reels, and I've got a couple of resources that I'm going to show you, which really give you more information than what's on this slide right now. But your film video Reels are about 5 minutes. It's your best work first. Make sure you put a title card with your contact information at the beginning and the end, and you want to divide it by sections if needed. So if you did audio, make an audio section. If you did graphics on it, then make a graphics section. Make it so as I'm going through the reel, I can tell exactly what you did. So that's really, really important. And again, I'm going to show you this tutorial later on in an article that I think is really going to help with that. I find it's also good to put your videos embedded into your website versus on YouTube. And that's because sometimes, and I heard this story a few years ago, I had a broadcast journalism major who was contacted by an employer because they saw her reel on YouTube. And the student was like, well, I didn't submit it. How did you find it? And the employer said, well, there was another applicant that sent her reel on YouTube and I watched it and it was okay. But on the sidebar, it gave other folks' reels and I saw you and I liked yours. So I contacted you. So essentially, YouTube was like, here's this student's video and here's all of her competition. So that's one reason that we say consider embedding it into your website. Now, newsreels are a little bit different, but they're 5 minutes in length. So these are more for journalists, broadcast journalists. Again, we want the opening slate with your name and contact information. Generally, we want a montage of 3 to 5 stand-ups and then 2 to 3 packages because we want to know that you can tell a story well. And then after that, you can put additional anchoring and things like that. And then, of course, we want to do your closing slate with your contact information at the end. And I would also do it at the beginning as well. So just a couple of other tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. Links should open in a new page and make sure that they work. Links should work. And I know that sounds silly, but that's one of the most common things I find that I have to work with students on. No blank pages on your site. And this third bullet is incredibly important. Obtain client permission to include work. So if you do an internship for this really great production company in Los Angeles and you do a trailer for this upcoming movie and it's not out yet, you cannot put that on your portfolio. So before putting anything from an internship or a professional experience on your portfolio, you need to get the permission from the employer that hired you for that internship and the client. And then finally, look at your portfolio from the lens of a recruiter. Is it easy? Do I like what I see? Do I know what you did? Do I know who you are from your About Me section? All of these things are really important. Now, what I want to do now is show you some examples. And so let's see if this is going to work. Great. So this is actually taking me to a page on the School of Communications Careers website. And just a couple of resources here. There's actually a brochure that has more information about portfolios, and so you can access that through our site. And then I've got some examples down here of e-portfolios from alumni, and I do have permission from all of them to show these. Resources and reels, and these are the two resources that I thought were really helpful for our film reel and then our broadcast journalism reels as well. And then some resources. So here's a link to help with WordPress types of portfolios. And then LinkedIn Learning is fantastic. If you haven't accessed that, you can just go to linkedinlearning.com. I believe you can sign in with your Elon stuff. And then they've got a lot of great tutorials on there, including tutorials on ePortfolios. But for right now, I just want to show you a couple of these. So Ian graduated a couple years ago, and I really like his portfolio because it's super light and pretty and easy to understand. So we go there, it's white, and then all of his information or all of his content is what's highlighted. And it's sorted by video production, motion graphics, and photography. So we know that this is a production guy right here. And so he's got these nicely sorted. So when I was talking earlier about how sometimes the sections can be more granular, these would be a little bit more granular than just a production section. But Ian's been in the professional world for a couple of years, so he's got that. There's a nice About Me section. So here's who I am, here's what I care about, here's a cool black and white picture. Contact information. Again, lots of folks have their email address, but they'll also have these types of services as well. And I really like that his social is up here as well. And then if we go into his production video, I can see all the different things down here. And so it takes me to the piece. And then here, it tells me that he was the writer, director, producer, etc. And it gives me a little bit more information. And it gives an example of how this was used on social, etc. Here's another piece that he's done. So again, he tells us down here, he was the director and the editor. So again, super simple, and it gives all the basic information and I know what he did. If I go into motion graphics, it brings everyone up and I can do the Charlotte Hornets. So motion graphics created during the summer of 2017. And then I can just click that and then all the graphics I can tell that he did. So again, I think this is a really good, clean example of a portfolio. And what I'm going to do is go back because I would like to show you one more. Let me show you, here's one for Stratcom. And so it looks like this one was done on WordPress, but you can see that she's created it as a website. And she's Stratcom focused, so again, she has very specific types of sections. So strategic planning, social, graphics, writing, etc. So if I go into social, she talks about what she's done with her Live Oak accounts. Her clients, she's got examples of it. Here's another project. Here's what I did. Here's the client. Here's examples of it. So again, here's what I did. Here's the client. Here's an example. If I go into writing, here's some copywriting that she's done. Strategic planning, etc. So she has the campaign plan and the campaign presentation. Fantastic. So that's another one that I like a lot from Stratcom. And then I'll show you one more from journalism. And this is Anton. He's a multimedia journalist, and I like that it tells me this right up front. And again, he's got it broken up. I report, I do photography, and about me and contact. So if I go into reporting, it's got all the different kinds that he's done, from feature writing to breaking news, on air, etc. And if I scroll down, I like that he's got this little piece where he's got kind of updates, like here's what I've worked on most recently. But I think this is a really exceptional portfolio. So again, oops, if we go back on this page, on the careers website, on the school communications site, it gives you samples and then more resources. And the final thing that I want to share with you is just more about me. Um, so I know this was a lot of information, but I just wanted to give you a basic overview. The goal is for you to meet with either myself or Allison Doherty, the other career advisor, to talk more about this. You've got all of my information up on the screen, so feel free to make an appointment. It's best to make an appointment through the Elon Job Network. If you haven't been there, if you just go to the Elon SPDC website, it's at the very top of the page. Just click on it and you'll sign in. And then on the left-hand menu, it'll say make an appointment. And you can make an appointment there. And I hope this has been helpful. I hope to hear from you soon. I hope to see your work, and I wish you the best as you create your portfolio. Have a good day.